Ever notice how some stories, like even really old ones, they kind of stay with you?
Yeah, for sure.
They paint such a like vivid picture of just, I don't know, like human strength and resilience, you know?
Yeah, I feel you.
So today we are going to do a deep dive into one of those stories,
Okay, love it.
the biblical story of Rizpah.
Oh, wow, interesting.
But we're not just like looking at the story itself, but we're also looking at how a like modern perspective can help us kind of shed light on some timeless lessons
Yeah.
for us in our own lives.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we've been looking at this story from a YouTube video. It's by Hope Merchants 24.
Okay.
And the title is Don't Wait for the Break. Pray Before It Shakes. Rizpah Story.
Ganchi.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is, right? And it really hones in on this one verse in 20 Samuel, chapter 21, verse 10, to pull out some really powerful insights.
So for everyone listening, like our goal in this deep dive is to unpack this narrative and
Mhm.
see what we can learn about hope and purposeful action and meeting those challenges in life head on. All inspired by Rizpah's example.
Absolutely. So to set the scene, this all takes place during a famine in Israel, during King David's reign. Now, this wasn't just like, oh, bad luck, it was understood in their context as a consequence of King Saul's actions against the Gibeonites,
Got it.
a people group that they had a treaty with.
So just to like break this down a little bit,
Yeah.
David as king wants to understand why this famine is happening, right?
Right.
And he gets a very clear divine answer. It's because of Saul's actions against the Gibeonites.
Yeah.
And the Gibeonites, seeking, resolution, ask for something very specific, 7 of Saul's male descendants to be handed over.
And David agrees to this.
Wow.
So among those that are given over are Rizpah's 2 sons and 5 sons of Saul's daughter Merab.
Okay.
These 7 men are then executed, and their bodies are left exposed. And it's at this point that Rizpah enters the story in a really, really remarkable way.
And here's where the story just grabs you.
Mm-hmm.
The video emphasizes Rizpah's amazing vigil.
Yep.
She was, as we know, the daughter of Aiah and one of Saul's concubines. Can you imagine her position?
It's hard to, yeah.
A woman in a very vulnerable social situation facing this just devastating loss.
Right.
So what does she do?
Well, she takes sackcloth, which was a traditional symbol of mourning and distress, and she spreads it out for herself on a rock.
Okay.
And the video makes a point about the timing here.
Okay.
It's at the beginning of the barley harvest.
Right.
The harvest season in that region could last around 6 months, stretching all the way to the late rains.
6 months.
Yeah.
Can you just picture that?
Wow.
For half a year, Rizpah is there,
Yeah.
exposed to the elements,
Totally.
day in and day out.
It's hard to imagine.
And her purpose is so powerful.
It is.
She is there to keep the birds from landing on the bodies during the day and to keep wild animals from scavenging them at night.
Right. So she's protecting them,
Yeah.
their bodies.
Yeah. This relentless, unwavering commitment to protecting the remains of her sons and grandsons.
It's intense.
It makes you think.
It really does. I mean, it's such a, I don't know, like potent image of a mother's love. And also like this quiet defiance against the injustice of everything that happened.
Yeah.
It's like, in her own way, she's challenging the power dynamics at play.
And eventually King David hears about this incredible act of devotion. I mean, you can only imagine what it must have been like to see this woman maintain this like solitary, heartbreaking vigil for such a long time. What do you think led to the news reaching the king?
Well, it's probably pretty hard to miss. Something that persistent and visible would have, I mean, you can't ignore that.
Right.
So, but David's response is interesting too, He doesn't just leave things as they are. He takes action. He gets the bones of Saul and Jonathan from Jabesh Gilead, where they had been, initially buried with honor.
Yeah.
And buries them together with the 7 descendants of Saul who were executed.
Together.
It's like, wow.
Yeah. And the video points out that it was only after this proper burial that Rizpah finally went home.
So there is a resolution that, at least in part, seems to be because of Rizpah's resilience.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, the YouTube video that we were looking at doesn't just stop at recounting the historical events.
Right.
It actually uses Rizpah's example to send a really powerful message to his viewers today.
Hmm.
And it focuses specifically on women, referring to them as hopeful heroines.
Right. And this is where the interpretation really gets, like, directly inspirational.
Yeah.
The video draws a comparison between Rizpah's circumstances as, a widow, a concubine, and in a society where she probably didn't have a lot of agency, to the hope and, like, spiritual empowerment that's available to believers today through their faith.
Right.
And it even mentions Luke 10:19, which talks about having authority over your adversaries.
So this is where the video's message really takes shape for today's listener, right?
Yeah, yeah. The main idea is that, unlike Rizpah, who took action after her sons had been killed, believers today have the potential to, like, act before the crisis even happens.
Yeah, to be proactive.
Proactive, exactly.
Not just reactive.
Exactly.
And the video says pray before it shakes.
I love that.
It's such a good phrase.
It is.
Really evocative.
Yeah.
And it basically means to take that preventative spiritual action. It's about really I don't know, like fighting for the well-being of your children and, the strength of your marriage and where your life is going while you still have time to make a difference,
Yeah.
to change things.
And to really, like, hit this home, the video uses some very direct and emotionally charged questions.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
Questions like, should you wait for your children to be killed before their time, before you speak up?
Yeah.
Should you wait for your marriage to fall apart before you confront the challenges?
Right, right.
Really gives this sense of urgency.
Totally. It really emphasizes the power of prayer and faith. He says, shake those vipers in the fire of God right now.
Oh, wow.
In the name of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
And that image, the shaking vipers in the fire, is so vivid.
Yeah.
And it probably comes from, those biblical metaphors about overcoming bad stuff through faith.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you got to actively resist those negative things and protect what's important through spiritual means.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It encourages people to stand up and proactively protect their loved ones and their future through prayer and declaring what they believe.
The contrast that they make is pretty huge.
It is, yeah.
The difference between trying to protect something that's living, right, versus mourning what's already been lost or destroyed.
Yeah.
So the video is saying that when something is already, like, dead or it's already broken, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
But while there's still life, while there's still opportunity, there's so much potential for positive change if you act proactively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this call to proactive prayer and faith isn't just about family, like your kids or your marriage. The video expands this to a lot of areas of life, your country, your health, your spiritual calling, even business.
Wow.
But the idea is the same. Don't wait for a crisis to happen before you actively do something about it.
The video really reinforces the idea of using whatever authority and power, that you think you have right now before things get worse.
Yeah.
It keeps going back to that main message of the title.
Right.
Don't wait until it's too late.
Exactly. And it ends on a very uplifting note.
Okay.
It goes back to this theme of hope and having faith and being proactive. It talks about powerful women who crush it with hope, people who take a stand and pray because they really believe that their faith can change things.
So for you, the learner, what can we take away from this deep dive into Rizpah's story and the perspective offered by this video?
Yeah.
So we see this image of Rizpah's dedication in the face of this devastating loss.
Yeah.
But then we have this, like, modern interpretation that uses her example to inspire us to take action in our own lives.
Right.
To engage with challenges before they get too big, with hope and action.
Absolutely. So this brings up an important question for you to think about. Think about the different parts of your life. Are there situations where maybe without even realizing it, you're waiting for something big to happen, like a crisis, before you decide to take action? And that action could be prayer or changing things or actively working towards something you want.
Right. So how could this idea of praying before it shakes, this, proactively engaging with life fueled by hope and knowing you can make a difference, how could that be relevant to what's happening in your life right now?
Yeah.
Considering the idea of, taking action like we see in the video, what proactive steps could you take right now?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely something to think about moving forward.
It is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
You got it.